The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Great Aunt Alara Blackwood had passed. Elias Thorne barely remembered her. Her lawyer wrote of an inheritance, a house, Oakhaven Manor, and its contents. Elias felt a strange pull, not of grief, but of something else. He decided to go. What harm could there be in looking? Just a house, after all. The journey was long, miles of winding country roads. By the time he reached the wrought iron gates of Oakhaven, a light drizzle had begun to fall. The gates groaned open. The driveway was overgrown. Weeds pushed through cracked asphalt. The house loomed before him. Dark stone, ivy-choked walls. Windows like vacant eyes stared out. He clutched the keys, their cold metal a stark contrast to his suddenly clammy palm. This was it, the beginning of something. He just didn't know what. The key turned in the massive oak door. The lock protested with a screech. Then, silence. The door swung inward. It revealed a cavernous hall. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light. They cut through the gloom from high, arched windows. The air was stale, thick with the scent of disuse. Elias stepped inside. His footsteps echoed, loudly, too loudly, as if the house itself was listening, holding its breath, waiting. He moved from room to room. Each one was a tomb of forgotten furniture. Sheets draped over sofas and chairs. They looked like ghostly figures in the dim light. Portraits on the walls had eyes that seemed to follow him, stern-faced ancestors. Their painted gazes were unsettling. He tried to shake off the feeling. It was just an old house, an empty house. But the silence was profound. It pressed in on him. He found the kitchen. It was surprisingly modern, relatively speaking, compared to the rest of the house. He decided to start with the upper floors. The main staircase creaked ominously under his weight. The attic door was at the end of a narrow corridor, smaller than the others, almost hidden. It was unpainted, dark wood, with a simple iron latch. Elias hesitated. Attics in old houses. They were clichés for a reason. Places where the unwanted was stored, where memories festered. He could feel a distinct drop in temperature as he approached this particular door, a coldness that seemed to emanate from beyond the wood. He reached for the latch, his fingers brushing against the surprisingly cold metal. He lifted the latch. It made a small, sharp click. The sound was swallowed by the silence. He pushed the door. It opened with a low groan. A wave of frigid air washed over him. It carried the scent of dust, of decay, and something else. Something sharp, almost metallic. The space beyond was dark, utterly black. He fumbled for his phone, switching on its flashlight. The beam cut a swathe through the oppressive darkness, illuminating a space filled with forgotten things, draped in cobwebs that hung like macabre decorations. The beam of his flashlight swept across the attic. Trunks, broken furniture, stacks of old books, and in the center of the far wall, something large. Elias stared at the mirror. It was beautiful, in a severe, ancient way. The frame was intricately carved, with strange symbols, and faces, tiny distorted faces that seemed to writhe in the silverwork. He leaned closer. The glass was flawless, yet it held no reflection, not his, not the attic behind him, only a deep, unsettling darkness, like looking into a bottomless well. A cold dread began to seep into him. This was no ordinary mirror. He felt it, deep in his bones. The silence of the attic seemed to amplify its strangeness, its unnerving stillness. He reached out a hand, slowly, towards the cold surface. His fingers hovered inches from the glass. He could feel the chill emanating from it, a palpable cold. He expected to see his reflection appear as he drew nearer, but still, nothing. Only that impenetrable blackness. Then, he heard it. A whisper, so faint he thought he'd imagined it. It seemed to come from the mirror itself, or from within it. A sigh. A breath. He snatched his hand back. His heart hammered against his ribs. He told himself it was the wind, or the old house settling. But he knew it wasn't. Elias left Oakhaven the next morning. He drove to the nearest village, a place called Hollow Creek. It was small, quaint, with an air of knowing more than it let on. He found the local library, a tiny, dusty building run by an elderly woman, Mrs. Gable. She had sharp eyes and a sharper memory. He asked about Oakhaven Manor, about the Blackwood family. He needed answers. He needed to understand what he had seen, or what he thought he had seen. The experience in the attic had shaken him to his core, stripping away his usual skepticism. Mrs. Gable pursed her lips. "Oakhaven," she said. Her voice was low, a troubled place. She told him stories, local legends whispered for generations, tales of disappearances, of madness, of a darkness that resided within the manor's walls. She spoke of the Blackwoods, a reclusive family, guarding their secrets and their heirlooms, especially one, a mirror, the soul taker, she called it. Her eyes held a flicker of genuine fear. She explained that the mirror was said to be a gateway, or worse, a prison. According to the legends, the mirror had been in the Blackwood family for centuries, brought from some distant, forgotten land. It was said to be cursed or haunted or both. Those who gazed too long into its depths risked losing themselves. Their reflections would remain trapped, while their bodies became empty shells, or simply vanished. Back at his rented room in the village, Elias searched online. He found a reference, a name, Alistair Finch, a paranormal investigator from the late 19th century. Finch had apparently visited Oakhaven. He had written about a cursed artifact in the Blackwood possession. Elias felt a jolt of excitement. This was it, a potential source of information. He managed to track down a digitized copy of Finch's private journal through a university archive. It took hours, but he found it. The entries were dated 1888, the year Finch visited Oakhaven. The journal entries were chilling. Finch described Oakhaven much as Elias had found it. Cold, oppressive, silent. He wrote of his meetings with the Blackwood of that era, a man named Thaddeus, who was deeply afraid of the mirror. Finch described the mirror in detail, its ornate frame, its dark, unresponsive glass. He too had felt its unnatural coldness. He too had heard whispers. Finch was initially skeptical, much like Elias. He sought rational explanations for the strange occurrences, for the fear that permeated the household. Finch wrote of experiments. He tried to photograph the mirror. The plates came out blank or fogged. He tried to see his reflection, but the glass remained stubbornly dark. Elias knew he had to return to Oakhaven. He couldn't leave it like this. The journal had solidified his resolve. He felt a strange responsibility to understand, perhaps even to stop it, if such a thing was possible. He drove back to the manor. The sky was gray, threatening rain again. The house seemed even more menacing, as if it knew he was back. And why? He felt a knot of fear tighten in his chest, but he pushed it down. He was armed with knowledge now, however terrifying. He hoped it would be enough. He went straight to the attic. The door was still closed. He hesitated, remembering the cold, the whispers, the face. He took a deep breath and opened it. The same frigid air washed over him, the same oppressive silence. The mirror stood where he had left it, dark, waiting. He approached it cautiously, his flashlight beam steady. He looked at the glass, still black, still empty. He stared into the blackness, deeper and deeper. The whispers returned, louder this time, coaxing, promising. "Join us," they seemed to say. "It's peaceful here. No more struggle, no more fear." He saw flashes of other faces, other lives, trapped for eternity. He felt their sorrow, their despair. It washed over him, threatened to drown him. He fought against it, tried to cling to his own identity, his own reality. But the pull was immense, like a powerful undertow, dragging him down into the cold, silent depths of the glass. He saw his own reflection begin to form, not as it should be, but pale, translucent, his eyes wide with a dawning horror. He was becoming one of them. He tried to look away, to break eye contact, but he couldn't. His gaze was locked, his will was not his own. The attic around him seemed to fade. The sounds of the old house receded. There was only the mirror, and the faces within, and his own face, slowly, surely, being drawn into the cold silvered glass. Panic seized him, a raw, primal terror. He struggled, but his body wouldn't respond. He was a statue, forced to watch his own soul being siphoned away, into the dark abyss of the mirror. His reflection grew clearer within the glass, more solid, while he, standing before it, felt himself becoming insubstantial, fading. The whispers were louder now, a chorus of despair, welcoming him. He saw the other faces. They seemed to shift, to make room for him, among their silent, suffering ranks. This was it, the end, trapped, forever. Then, with a final wrenching sensation, it was over. He felt a profound dislocation, a sense of being elsewhere. He blinked. The attic was still there, but different, muted, as if seen through a veil. He looked down at his hands. They were pale, translucent. He could see the dusty floorboards through them. He felt no cold, no fear, only a strange, hollow emptiness, a profound and unending stillness. He turned his gaze, slowly, towards the mirror, the source of his undoing, the prison that now held him,